Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well in this difficult time we find ourselves in. Please stay healthy. I've tried something I haven't done before and I wanted to share what I'd found. A friend of mine wanted me to make a sign for his store. The sign was designed and my friend had a vector drawing, so all I had to do was to make the sign. Here's a picture of the finished sign. The sign is 24 inches wide, 20.5 inches tall. Let's go over how I made it. I'm going to start by showing the parts being cut out and fill in some of the details as we go along. I'm going to start by cutting out the main letters in the center of the sign. Since the sign has different colors, and my painting skills are not very good, I decided to cut out each letter, paint it, and put it back together. Here I'm cutting out the W-A-P-I-T-I letters. Next, I'll cut out the holes for the letters to go into after they're painted. I'm using a sheet of high-density urethane, HDU for short. I've not worked with this material before. I found it had some very useful properties. It machines very nice. I'm using an 1/8 inch end mill for most of my cuts. The bits cut through the material like it was not there. The cut surface is very smooth. Material also does not absorb water. When you put water on the cut edge, you'll get it beading up. This property is great for outdoor signs. I first cut out the letters and then I cut out the pieces that will hold the letters. The letters are cut out full size. The pockets are cut 10/1000 oversize. My hope is the 10/1000 oversize will give me enough room after the parts are painted. We'll see if that's correct in a few minutes. You will notice the spindle going up and down as I'm cutting out the pocket. This happened because of a mistake I made in building the toolpath. I used the inlay toolpath feature in Aspire, but I used the pocket option rather than the hole option. The spindle is going up and down because it's trying to clean up the pocket. I should have used the hole option. That means there's some learning in progress here. I started out leaving 10/1000 at the bottom of the cut. My hope was the 10/1000 would be enough to hold the letters in place while parts of the letter were being cut out. It turns out that was not enough material. As we see on the letter P and the letter A, the center of the letter did not hold. I changed to leaving 20/1000 at the bottom, and that worked great. I had to remake the P and the A. The profile of the letter was fine, but the parts inside the P and A were damaged. I cut out the center part of the sign first just to make sure the letters would fit. They did, and I'll show that in a bit. First, we'll cut out some more of the sign. I will move through part of this quickly, as the only interesting thing here is how the dots on the border are machined. My plan is to mark the outside of the border so I can mask it with some plastic before milling the dots and finishing to cut out the border. That way I can spray the black dots, letting the plastic mask off the orange area of the border. More to come on this in a bit. By the way, you'll see I made a new P and A. The additional thickness at the bottom of the cut worked fine. Once the machine finished cutting the first set of parts, I mask off the border Using the plastic with sticky on the back, I used a product called Urethane. Then I started cutting the second set of parts. Now we have all the parts cut out. Let's see if they'll fit together. Notice how easy it is for the parts to slide into the pocket. Now we see the parts fit together. It's time to take them apart and paint each one separately. I'm going to do most of the painting off camera as there's nothing really interesting going on. The exception will be painting the dots. I used some painter's tape to tape over the plastic and then sprayed the few coats of black in the holes. After the black was dry, I removed the mask and used a foam roller to paint the orange. The foam roller had no nap, so the orange paint did not go down in the black holes. Now, we have all the parts painted. Let's see if they'll still fit together. And the answer is yes, they do. They fit pretty nicely together. Now, we have one more issue to address, and the sign is done. The sign parts fit together nicely, but there are small spaces between each part. How are we going to make the sign so it will stay together? And my answer was to use epoxy. I put one thin coat of epoxy on the sign, and that was done off camera, laying it on a flat board covered with plastic tape. The idea with the thin coat is to let the epoxy flow into the little cracks. This will both fill the cracks and glue the parts together. The sign is sitting on a board covered with the plastic tape, so the sign can be removed after the epoxy runs through and cures. I used some epoxy that had a 45-minute working time, so the epoxy had plenty of time to run in the cracks before setting up. After the first coat was dry, I sanded and added some more coats until the sign had a nice, smooth, glossy finish. I consider this project a success because I learned several things and the customer liked the sign. I've left out some of the less interesting details to keep the video short. If you have questions, please post them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching.